Hello, shall we get go? So, welcome back. I hope everybody has enjoyed lunch. I'm Adam Kadir Boke. I'm going to moderate the third session, and I have 4 topics. So, hello, can you hear me? Let me see if you are hearing me.
Yes.
All right. So in this session, we have 4 topics. So let me introduce the presenters and the topic first, and then we'll have the presentation. The first presentation will be on the title, The Opportunities for Cooperation between Turkey and East Africa in Islamic banking, Islamic financing. This is to be presented by 2 persons, co-presenters, Professor Cem Korkut from Ankara Yildirim of Ankara. And the second presenter is on the same topic, Prof.Dr. Mehmet Bulut is from Istanbul Sabahattin Zaim University. The second topic in this session is towards a developed model for venture builder funds. However, this presenter is not absent due to health problem, and I really wish him gets well soon. The third topic is Organization for Islamic Cooperation, OIC, and D8, evaluation of the contribution of the Africa-Turkey relationship. And it is going to be presented by Dr. Fatih Kaplan Han. He is from Istanbul Sabahattin Zaim University of Istanbul. And the final topic is written in Turkish. It's going to be presented in Turkish. That is Doğu Bilgilendiğinden günümüze şifa devşirmenin imkanı. And this is going to be presented by Mehmet Enes Kala. He's from Ankara Yildirim Bayezid University. So the first presenter, the podium is yours, and you'll be having 10 minutes.
Thank you, dear Professor. Let me share my screen. Okay, I think now you are seeing my screen.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Firstly, I would like to thank all organization committee, dear Hassan, Nawal, Mehmet Turul, and other staff. I hope Orda and Adam joint conference will be fruitful for all future cooperation in different aspects. Here is my presentation plan. I know there are a lot of things, but the time is limited. But I try to make a summary of how the Islamic finance and banking institutions can be a bridge for us and for East Africa. Firstly, I want to make a clarification about the current situation in Turkey, meaning Islamic banking and finance. Then I would like to emphasize the future of the sector and cooperation opportunities. And I would like to also mention about the challenge and the knowledge transfer and the problems which will possibly be encounter. We have an old history about Islamic finance. The Keşfaks, Ottoman Keşfaks, we can call them the pioneer of the Islamic financial institutions. They are a type of Vakf which entire or portion of capital was formed by the cash money, and this cash money was operated in the Islamic ways, in the halal ways, and the income from this capital was used to purpose of the Vakf, like other rental Vakfs. The methods of the operating the cash money in cash Vakfs are the base of the methods implemented by the contemporary interest-free financial institutions like Murabaha, Mudarebe, Mushareke, or Ijare are first used in these cash Vakfs. When we look at their history, we encounter it in the 15th century, the first quarter of the 15th century. In our archive records, in 1423, the first Yağcı Hacı Musli'ddin Cash Vakf in Edirne was established with a 10,000 akçes capital. And until the stopping of the Ottoman Empire, like 1922, we can encounter cash Vakfs. Even in the war period, people still was funding cash Vakfs. It is not only they all indicator of the flexibility of the Ottoman mentality, because in that period in Europe there were banks, there were insurance companies or other corporations, and it's the answer of the Ottomans against the capitalism. They built a financial system, but it's a charity-oriented, not profit-oriented financial system. So, but now it is not possible in the legal law to establish a cash Vakf, because after the 1923, the financial system was built on the capitalist economic theory. So there are state banks or other private banks, but until the 1984, there is no interest-free institutions. After that, we established firstly special interest-free institution. Then it is too new. In 2005, we call them the participation banks. We have really big banks that like amounted to near 60% of total banking sector. Some of them the private banks, some of them are state banks. Share of first 10 banks in total asset and total loans remained unchanged with 80% to 90% respectively. On the other hand, the share of the first 10 banks in total deposit decreased by the 3 or 5% in recent years. Now, the share of the assets of deposit banks in banking sector was 86%, while the share of the participation banks and the other development banks are about 7% each. In these 7% about the participation banks is increased in the last 2 or 3 years with the establishment of the state development, state participation banks. It's about 4 or 5% for a long period. How they function in Turkey and world? We know that the global financial crisis has revealed the importance of more resilient and more inclusive financial systems, and the policymakers have been trying to reestablish the nexus between financial system and real economy since then. Assessing vulnerabilities at the global financial system and restructuring the global financial architecture to avoid a similar crisis have been top agenda items of the international fora and the other governments especially in the last years. In the conjuncture, Islamic finance has come under the spotlight because it established the bridge between the real economy and financial system. So it is equity-based and asset-based financial. It conducts equity-based or asset-based financial principle, and it's successful when we look at the financial crisis. The world now focuses on the strong fundamentals of Islamic finance to be utilized in achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and it attracts interest from all over the world with its socially responsible and inclusive growth-friendly nature. Now, Turkey has a great window to the opportunity of Islamic finance. The Turkish government is committed to improving the interest-free finance sector ecosystem in Turkey, and Turkey has already devised a comprehensive action plan to strengthen the Islamic financial and banking system. Now, there is a project of İstanbul Finance Center, İstanbul International Finance Center, and they are planning to make Istanbul also the center of the Islamic finance. With more than 1,000 branches, around 77% share of the overall banking sector, the participation banks in Turkey have highly promising a potential for growth, and the sector aims to triple the share of the participation banks, or 25% in 2030. I know there are no too much economists or the finance banking sector academicians here.
Professor Jim, I regret to tell you that you are left with 2 more minutes. Yes, to wrap up.
I stopped.
Yeah, I'm that great.
Yeah. Okay. So, sorry for it. The time is very limited for me. So, I will only make this emphasize. Islamic finance is we know that it's a new bread for the world because the interest-based system, the capitalist economic system, is like in the old times, in the exploitation times. Now they try to take all the capital of the developing countries with this system. And it's not only the banking system, there are also insurance system, leasing, factoring, and consumer financing system without interest. There is also saving-based financing system newly regulated in Turkey. And when we try to make these cooperations in all over the world, it's first I want to say that it's not for the Muslims, it's also for all people, because it's an ethical financial system. But we will encounter some problems, lack of quality of human resources, lack of the educational training institutions. The awareness is now too low for all countries, even in Muslim countries. We know that we are in existing regional conflicts for our geography. Lack of coordination between institutions, not only the countries, but also with the institutions, cooperation is limited, and international barriers also barrier achieving our potential growth. And first, mentality, desire of competition with conventional banks. We first wake up people about this mentality. It depends on the cooperation, not the competition. We know that the strong and widespread network of conventional banking also wants to prevent Islamic banking and finance system. So there is there should be positive regulations must establish for these institutions. Let me go to. I will share my presentation in this chat. Okay. So we know that in Turkey's global position and East Africa global positions has given us a good opportunity to make cooperation in finance, like all other trade or other cultural issues. We have a strong historical and increasingly important economic ties with the Middle East and the East Africa. We have strong relationship with global institutions in Turkey and can transfer it for all developing countries in East Africa. And Istanbul International Finance Center Program Action Plan is not for only normal conventional banking system, it also for Islamic banking system, and the financial institutions in East Africa can integrate this action plan. We can establish an educational curriculum with our institutions or centers or universities or other education programs. East Africa is close to central geography of the Turkey, we know it, and we have good historical relations to use this cooperation, and we have enough power, wisdom, knowledge, and experience to achieve our goals. Thank you for your listening. I can try to make your question in the discussion session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor James. And very sorry for the time limitation. So the next presenter is going to be Dr. Fatih Kaplan. The podium is yours, please.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
First of all, I want to thank all of committee members. If you allow, I want to make my presentation in my mother tongue. I suppose that most of you understand Turkish. Let me share my screen. Ekran görülüyor mu?
Görebiliyoruz.
Bir saniye. Benim sunumum İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı ve D8 üye ülkeleri. Benim ekranla bir sorun oldu. Onu bir düzelteyim bir saniye. İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı ve D8'in Türkiye-Afrika ilişkilerine katkısının değerlendirilmesi sunumum. 10 dakikada özet bir şekilde bu konuya değinmeye çalışacağız. Tabii detaylı bir konu. 1-2 saat olsa daha iyi olurdu. Uzun uzun konuşmak, tartışmak, fikirlerinizi de almak isterdim aslında. Sunum planım da şu şekilde. İlk başta problemlerden bahsedeceğiz. Konumuzun aktörleri ve mevcut durumumuz, İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı, D8, Türkiye ve Afrika ülkelerinin mevcut durumlarını inceleyeceğiz. Sonra önerilerimiz ikinci bölümde. Katma değerli ürünler ve eğitim konusunda da öğleden önceki session'da da bol bol değinildi. Cep telefonu, teknoloji, eğitim konularından bahsedildi. Bu konuya biz de değineceğiz. Daha sonra metot, sonuç ve tartışma şeklinde tamamlanacak sunumum. Şimdi aktörlerden kısaca değinecek olursak, İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı'nın amacı İslam dünyasının hak ve çıkarlarını korumak, üye devletler arasında işbirliği ve dayanışmayı güçlendirmek. İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı ise 1969'a dayanan bir mazisi var. İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı İslam Zirve Konferansı'nda alınan bir kararla kurulmuştu. 2011 Haziran ayında Astana'da düzenlenen 38. Dışişleri Bakanları Konseyi'nde İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı olarak ismi değişti. 57 Müslüman İslam ülkesinden oluşmakta. Bugün İslam ülkelerinin tek çatı altında toplandığı tek kuruluş sıfatına sahip İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı. Kısaca D8'e de değinirsek, şimdi burada dikkatinizi çekmek istediğim husus, İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı'nın amaçları ile D8'in amaçları özellikle. D8'in üye devletlerin küresel ekonomideki pozisyonunu güçlendirmek, ticaret ilişkilerinde bu ülkelere yeni fırsatlar yaratmak ve ticareti çeşitlendirmek, uluslararası düzeyde karar alma sürecine katılım sağlamak ve yaşam standartlarının güçlendirmek. D8'in amaçları da özetle bu şekilde sıralayabiliriz. Bildiğimiz gibi 8 büyük İslam ülkesinden oluşmakta D8'de. Bu İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı'ndaki 57 ülkede milli geliri yüksek 10 ülkeyi de birazdan yine sunumda göstereceğiz. Bu 3. ve 4. slaytlarımızda D8 ve İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı'nın amaçları birbirine paralel olduğunu ve çok geniş amaçları olduğunu görüyoruz. İslam dünyasının hak ve çıkarlarını korumak, üye devletler arasında işbirliği ve dayanışmayı güçlendirmek. Şimdi İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı'nın amaçları bu. Tamam, 57 ülkenin amacı hak ve çıkarları korumak, işbirliği ve dayanışmayı güçlendirmek. Ama bu işbirlik ve dayanışma ne kadar güçlendirilmiş? Bunu somut sayılarla, verilerle inceleyecek olursak ekrandaki grafik karşımıza çıkıyor. Şimdi bu İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı ticaretinin dünya ticareti içerisindeki payını görüyoruz. 1996-2016 yılları arasındaki 20 yıllık dönemi ekranda görebiliriz. Şimdi teşkilatın bu 57 üye ülkenin başlıca ihraç malı petrol. Dünya petrol rezervlerinin yaklaşık %67'si İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı üye ülkelerinin ürünleri. İkili ticaretlerde bu nedenlerden dolayı çok büyük bir oranda petrolü kapsıyor. Nitekim petrol toplam ihracatın %40'ından fazlasını oluşturmakta. Birleşmiş Milletler verilerine göre 2016 yılında İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı toplam mal ihracatı 1,4 trilyon dolar olarak kaydedilmiştir. Bu 1,4 trilyonun %40'ı petrol. Aynı yıl dünya toplam ihracat rakamı 16 trilyon olarak gerçekleşmişti. Şimdi dünya ihracat rakamı 16 trilyon, bizim 57 İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı üye ülkesi yani Müslüman ülkelerin ihracatı 1,4 trilyon. 16 trilyon, 1,4 trilyon. 2016 yılı için İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı toplam ihracatının dünya toplam ihracatındaki payı bu durumda %8,5. %8,5 iken toplam ithalatın dünya toplam ithalatı içindeki payı ise %9,6 olarak gerçekleşmiştir. Ticarette hizmetler tarafından bakıldığında ise İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı'nın net hizmet ithalatçısı olduğu görülür. Yani İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı deyince bizim bütün Müslüman ülkeleri kapsıyoruz. Bu Türkiye'de, Etiyopya'da, Moritanya, Senegal hepsi. Şimdi 57 ülke, dünya ülkelerinin %25'inden fazlası İslam ülkesi iken, 57 tanesi İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı üyesi iken, %25'i İslam ülkesi ama %8,5, %9,6'sı dış ticarette bizim İslam ülkelerinin hacmi var büyüklükte. Dolayısıyla hani hacim ve kütle olarak bir burada dengesizlik var. %25'iyiz devletlerin ama ithalat ve ihracatta %8-9'lardayız. Dünya ortalamasının da oldukça altındayız. Dünya ticareti içerisindeki payımız. Bir sonraki grafikte İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı içi ticaretin toplam ticaret içerisindeki payı yine ekranda görüyoruz. Şimdi 2016-1996 yılları arasındaki bu 20 yıllık verilerde yukarıdaki eğri ihracatı gösterirken aşağıdaki eğri ithalatı göstermekte. Buna göre İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı'nın kendi içerisindeki yaptığı ticaret yıllar itibariyle
Sesiniz gelmiyor. Sesiniz gelmiyor.
Şimdi geliyor mu sesim?
Şimdi geliyor. Geldi şimdi.
Heh.
Devam edebilirsiniz.
Şimdi İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı içi ticaretin toplam ticaret içerisindeki payını görüyoruz şu an ekrandaki grafikte. 20 yıllık 96-2016 yılları arasında. Yukarıdaki mavi olan eğri ihracatı gösterirken aşağıdaki eğri ithalatı göstermekte. Buna göre İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı'nın kendi içerisindeki yaptığı ticaret yıllar itibariyle artış gösteriyor gördüğümüz gibi. İthalat daha stabil bir seyir izlerken ihracat daha dalgalı bir seyir izlemekte. 2016 yılında İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı'nın kendi içerisinde yaptığı ihracat yaklaşık 314 milyar dolar iken ithalat 287 milyar dolar olarak gerçekleşmiştir. Bu söz konusu yılda İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı içi ithalat, teşkilatın toplam ithalatı içerisindeki en yüksek paya sahiptir. Grafikte bir diğer dikkat çeken nokta ise 2015 yılından itibaren ilk defa İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı içi toplam ticaret içerisindeki ihracatın ithalatı geçmesidir. Özel sektör yatırımlarıyla İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı içi ticaret artırılması gerekiyor. Bu grafikten de net bir şekilde bunu görmekteyiz. Şimdi 57 ülke, 200 devlet olduğunu varsayarsak %25'ten fazlası İslam ülkesi ama dünya ithalat ve ihracatında, dünya dış ticaretindeki bizim ortalamamız, payımız İslam ülkeleri kümülatif olarak %9 civarında bu grafikte gördüğümüz gibi. Şimdi İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı üyeleri ülkeler yani Müslüman ülkeler kendileriyle de dış ticaretleri oldukça zayıf. Bu grafikten de bunu özetle söyleyebiliriz. Şimdi bir sonraki bölüme geçecek olursak bu dış ticaretimizin %40'ı özellikle petrolden oluşuyor. Geri kalan %60'ının büyük bir kısmı ham maddeden, yeraltı kaynaklarından oluşuyor. Bunların işlenmesinde ciddi eksikliklerimiz olduğunu görüyoruz İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı üyesi ülkelerde. Bu gerek petrol, gerek bizim ihraç yaptığımız ürünlerin katma değerli ürün haline getirilmesi gerektiğini hepimiz biliyoruz. Bu konuyu konuşuyoruz. Öğleden önceki oturumlarda da buna kısmen değindik.
Pardon, bir 3-4 dakika içinde bitirebilir miyiz?
Hızlandırıyorum, özet geçiyorum hemen.
Tamam.
Şimdi katma değerli ürünler deyince ağır sanayi, yüksek teknoloji ve gelişmiş pazarlama teknikleri sayesinde dünya pazarına sunulmalı diye bir cümleyle özetleyebiliriz. Bu yüksek teknoloji deyince insanların bizim aklımıza işte machine learning, deep learning, yapay zeka, 3D yazıcılar vesaireler falan geliyor. Ama yüksek teknoloji sadece bunlar demek değil. Yani big data, deep learning, machine learning bunlar değil. Tarımda da yüksek teknoloji kullanılabilir. Yine bunu bir mukayeseyle örnek verecek olursak, örneğin Hollanda. Hollanda hani yüz ölçümü olarak biliyorsunuz Türkiye'deki Konya ili kadar yüz ölçümü var. 17-18 milyon nüfusu var. Ama dünyada ikinci büyük tarım ihracatı yapan ülke. Bu şu manaya geliyor. Hani tarıma elverişli toprakları açısından mukayese edersek Türkiye Hollanda'dan 150 kat daha fazla tarıma uygun alanı varken Hollanda dünya ikincisi, Türkiye onların da altında. Bunun sebebi yüksek teknoloji tarımda da kullanmamız gerekiyor. Hani sadece sanayide, endüstride, eğitimde, tamam her yerde kullanalım. Tarımda da kullanalım. Yani yüksek teknoloji deyince hani bize çok uzak deep learning, machine learning, inovasyon, yapay zeka, hani bizim ülke olarak, İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı üye ülkeleri olarak hani yüksek teknoloji bizim ulaşamayacağımız bir teknoloji gibi algılanması maalesef yanlış bir algı. Bunun değişmesi gerekiyor. Şimdi yine katma değeri dahil edilmesine rağmen ciddi bir kısım iş gücü oluşturuyor. Bu katma değeri, yüksek katma değerli ürünler aslında büyük bir kısmı emekten, iş gücünden oluşuyor. Bu İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı üyesi ülkelerin iş gücü, emek sorunu zaten yok. Genç nüfus oranlarını biliyoruz. Bu biz elimizdeki genç nüfusu nasıl daha kalifiyeli hale getirebiliriz? Nasıl daha katma değeri yüksek ürünler üretebiliriz konusunda da yine eğitim problemine geliyoruz. Şimdi eğitim kalitesi genel olarak İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı üyesi ülkelerde VASA dünya ortalamasının dış ticarette olduğu gibi altında. Hani eğitimin mevcut durumundan ziyade algısından kısaca bahsedeyim. Zaman azaldı. Ve Türkiye'de örneğin anne babaların %86.4'ü Türkiye'de öğrencilerin dünya standartında bir eğitim almadıklarını düşünüyor. %80.9'u ise Türkiye'de eğitim gören çocukların dünyanın herhangi bir yerinde iş bulabileceklerini sanmıyor. Bir diğer deyişle Türkiye'de muhtemelen diğer İslam ülkelerinde de 3 aşağı 5 yukarı böyledir. Ebeveynler çocuklarının geleceği açısından eğitimi artık bir sigorta olarak görmüyorlar. Şimdi eğitim sorununun çözülmesiyle ilgili önerilerde kısaca değinecek olursak, nitelikli öğretmen yetiştirmek. Birinci eğitim politikası, eğitim kalitesinin artırılmasının birinci kuralı nitelikli öğretmen yetiştirmek, eğitim fakültelerinin kalitesini artırmak, niteliğini artırmak. İkinci husus, okulların yeterlilik, fiziki yapısı ve donanımını artırmak. Şimdi bu dış ticaretten başlayıp katma değerli ürün, eğitime geldik. Hepsi aslında birbiriyle doğrudan alakalı. Eğitimimizin kalitesi artması lazım ki katma değerli ürünler üreten, katma değerli ürünler pazarlayan bir potansiyelimiz olsun. Katma değerli ürünler ihracat yapan ülkelerimiz, şirketlerimiz olsun ki İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı üyesi ülkelerin dünya ticaretindeki payı, ithalatta, ihracatta özellikle %9'lardan %10'lara, 20'lere, mümkünse 25-30'lara çıksın. Dolayısıyla bu eğitim, katma değerli ürün, ithalat, ihracat, makroekonomik göstergeler hepsi aslında birbiriyle de alakalı. Şimdi eğitim programları ve metotları açısından yeknesanlık olması gerekiyor. Eğitim programının milli olması gerekiyor. Eğitim ve öğretimin yanlış uygulamalardan kurtulması gerekiyor. Türkiye'den örnek verecek olursak muhtemelen diğer özellikle Afrika ülkelerinde bizim kadar kötü değildir bu, özellikle yabancı dil eğitimi. İlkokuldan itibaren ortaokul, lise, üniversitede 12, 16, 17 yıl İngilizce eğitimi alıp da İngilizceyi konuşamayan herhalde başka bir millet yoktur bizim Türk milleti haricinde. Bu kalitesizliğin, bu vasatın altındaki kalitenin temel sebebi de ezberciliğe dayalı eğitim, sınavlara yönelik çalışma, bu hususlarında gözden geçirilerek proaktif politikalar özellikle eğitimden başlanarak sanayide, üretimde geliştirilmesi gerekiyor diyerek sunumumu bitirebilirim. Zannediyorum zamanım da bitti.
Sağ olun hocam. Thank you. So in the interest of time, let me call upon the next presenter, Associate Professor Muhammad Enes. The podium is yours, please. And you have 10 minutes.
Can you hear me?
Sure. Yeah.
Many thanks, dear. And I need to say that I am happy to be with you. Also, I should thank to all organizers and institutions which contribute priceless labors to the conference. The titles of presentations mainly emphasize on economical, social, and political relations between Turkey and Africa. But my presentation focused on the thoughts and main intellectual features of civilizations and propose a possible conclusion that people need to feed and benefit from all gains of civilizations of humanity. Let's start my presentation. The distinction between East and West is mental rather than geographical and is related to mentality. It's very important to understand where we stand in this distinction, because our understanding extends to our understanding and our standing to our mentality. A person should first stop to understand. It seems important to ask the question of who we are, then to understand the components in the creation, and finally to answer it. The creation points to a coordinate for clarity. In that coordinate, three elements meet us. These are time, space, and human being. Time is the vertical coordinate of the human being, and space is the horizontal one of the person. With time, the person realizes the tradition that one will build his future that comes from his past. With the spatial element, one understands the possibility of strengthening to the offer of the local and unique culture that makes the society such a society, and of offering healing to global issues and troubles. While the first one keeps it timeless in time, the other reminds of the possibilities of reaching the local one to the universal. Asking who we are is to start the way from the right brink. The main problem is that we forget to ask this question, or that this question is made us forget. Toynbee talks about three principles that make up the Western identity. The first of these is the unchanging, disheveled perception of the East. The second is the egocentric, Eurocentric illusion. And the third one is the progressive illusion of history. In his work titled A Study of History, he gathered and studied 26 branches of civilization under East and West. According to him, it continues to flow only in the course of Western civilization. One of the agents in the destruction or paralysis of others is actually Western civilization. Therefore, at this point, it is considered extremely important to recognize and define oneself rather than be defined. The dominant Western mentality is accepted as the representation and marker of science, technology, progress, and enlightenment. The East, which is the opposite of these, is deemed to be the representative of ignorance, bigotry, backwardness, and darkness. Moreover, since history is perceived on a linear perspective with a progressive line, it is argued that the Western civilization at the end of history is the only dominant civilization. All these elements make all civilizations other than the West. The other can only become valuable as it emulates and resembles the West. In this context, civilizations that adhere to West move away from their authenticity and uniqueness and become alienated from themselves. Moreover, they become deprived of their unique, rich offerings, which they must originally offer to human accumulation. The following question is important here. What will happen if a civilization deprived of a proposal can propose a solution to the environmental and humanitarian problems in the world? Why do we deprive all the peoples of the world of this remedy, this cure, because of their domineering attitude? This framework cannot be installed from West and the rest conflict. No civilization can establish and protect its own claim and singularity without another civilization. No human activity, theoretical or practical, takes place in outer space. There is a readiness regarding time and place in the background of the activity in question. A civilization becomes aware of the accumulation of another civilization. Then it is curious and translates that accumulation into its own language. It understands what it translates within its own reality and conditions. It accepts and moreover embraces it. Later, it attempts to find solutions to the problems it encounters by internalizing what it accepts and owns. If it offers its original contributions in the solution, it will now originally produce what it has received in a new and original mold. The forgetting of translation and inheritance part in the background of the original proposal reveals the nature of plagiarism in the origin. Plagiarism is a vice, and to be grateful is a virtue. From this point of view, all civilizations seem to have a common ground that contributes to each other and enrich differences. So a perspective benefiting from the civilizations is much more beneficial for humanity than claiming to establish itself as the sole dominant civilization like West. After all that it has been said, it can be stated that the West needs Eastern wisdom. On the other hand, East needs Western wisdom. All this partnership will actually appear to us as eternal wisdom, means hikmet-i halide. As the centuries when thought was systematized in the history of humanity, BC 7 and 5 centuries come out. In this century, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle lived on the west side, and Zoroaster, Buddha, Confucius, and Laozi lived on the east side. Though the thought systematized in the west and the thought systematized in the east didn't have superiority to each other in terms of value, but they differed from each other in terms of their qualities and qualifications. It is necessary to understand this framework in which geography and history are also determinants. While the Chinese civilization, one of the Eastern civilizations, witnessed the struggle between dynasties during the centuries in creation, the Indian world was trying to find a solution to the problem that caused pain, suffering, and anxiety between the outer eternal world, namely Brahma, and the inner world, namely Atman. On the west side, which is a commercial center and allows for living comfort due to its climate, theoretical research and investigation activities indicated, and economic prosperity made itself felt in Greek world. It can be talked about two existential human emotions. Fear and wonder are two basic emotions that take root in human nature and shape human existence through its manifestation. Fear manifests and ways to be soothed if there is an environment that threatens human existence and deprives him of freedom. If the feeling of fear is not remedied, cured, human becomes distant from peace and happiness. Moreover, he becomes alienated from his own existence. The creature which emanates from this alienation may be named as a monster. Homo homini lupus. Therefore, by nature, people should live together in peace and harmony with other people so that the sense of fear can be relieved. Wonder appears when human existence is not threatened. Moreover, when there is a suitable climate for all manifestations of human existence, wonder activates the human's understanding faculty. A person who engaged in the activity of learning his environment with this feeling tries to transform and rebuilds his environment, except to only have knowledge about his environment. In that case, there appears at the...
Sorry for the interruption. Can you make it in 3 minutes?
Okay, in 3 minutes, I'll finish. Okay, I hope. In that case, there appears as emotions that are instrumental in constructing the practical life of the human being and wonder his theoretical life. Confucius and Laozi, important figures of Chinese civilization, lived during the warring dynasties, and their main motivation was to calm the fear that dominated that society. Strong understanding of moral and political philosophy has emerged from this effort for the common good of humanity. Confucius' ideal of a family-centered hierarchical society and Laozi's approach regarding the need to liken the inner world of the human to harmony and cosmos of the transcendental sphere show the existence possibilities of both human and society. A similar situation is valid for Indian civilizations. Atman, the particular soul that has moved away from the universal soul Brahma, constitutes the reason for pain and suffering. Humanity who moves from away from Brahma, which is also understood as the spirit of the universe, loses identity and ultimately feels pain and suffering, should know how to reverse the process. In that case, communality and reciprocity must be discovered in the existence of the universe, which is the great human, and the human, the small universe. If the other represented by Brahma can be transferred to the individual existence of the human being, the alienation, the problems, identity, and alienation we have mentioned will be cured, relieved, and human beings will be able to attain peace. In this presence, it is matter of the man's domination of the world, not consuming it, but adapted to its rhythms and harmony. For if the harmony and balance should exist between man and the universe is broken, people will suffer. And the final paragraph is that one of the possible conclusions it can be drawn from all this is this: the constructions of the Eastern civilizations from inside to outside, and the understanding of philosophy, morality, politics that can relieve fear in this direction have been benefits. On the other hand, Western civilization have been benefited from the discovery from outside to inside and the understanding of philosophy, science, techniques in this direction. Just as theory should be completed by practice and practice by theory, the East should be completed with the West and the West with the East. It may be added that the words East and West in question refer to geography rather than mentality. By the way, humanity needs to melt all these dimensions in a melting pot. The Islamic civilization, stemming from Tawhidi religion, namely Islam, is actually such a melting point. Islamic civilization attempts to solve the issues of mabda, starting point of existence, ma'ash, how to live people, and ma'at, the final point and destination of the being by relieving both fear, anxiety, and wonder. What about Africa? This is my last words. It should be stated that African thought is also an important part of Eastern wisdom. In the understanding of philosophy to be derived from the oral culture in African wisdom, very qualified contributions can be made regarding the relations between human being, world, universe, and God. This context is awaiting philosophical processing. African civilization seems to have a potential to produce very precious value for humanity with the understanding of wealth and knowledge that it will build on its own existence by knowing itself. Africa's priceless original contributions to the following history of humanity are waiting to be voiced from Africa. Healing solutions are sought instead of the threats created by today's human beings who wage war on nature and those who are not themselves. Problems of nature and the problems related to the separation of human from the transcendent being, namely Allah, it may be necessary to look at the wisdom of the East, which should be included in Africa again, for the solution proposals of these solutions in terms of practical life on the axis of morality and politics. Thank you very much for your ears.
I thank you so much. So it is time to invite participants to ask questions. So we had presentation on 3 major topics, timely and really vitally important topics. The first one was the opportunities for cooperation between Turkey and East Africa in Islamic finance. Islamic finance is, has become a contemporary concept, issue. It was presented by Professor James Korkut. So he has tried to address the historical aspect of Islamic banking, what it is, how it operates, the challenge that it faces, the unique challenge facing the Islamic banking, and the common challenge between the shared challenge that Islamic bank are facing with traditional or the normal banking. And he also mentioned the possible solutions to overcome some of the problems. The second topic was presented by Professor Dr. Fatih Kaplan. It was about OIC and D8 evaluation of the contributions of the Africa-Turkey relationship. He has mentioned a number of issues here. The countries are the member countries are many. They are not few in terms of number. There are 57 from among 12 states in the world. But when we see the import-export interaction between these countries, I think he made really impressive presentation by those figures. The figures were self-explanatory. And he also put very important issue, the connection between education and production, so as to enhance import and export at the end of the day. Importing, exporting quality products. He also linked this issue with the use of technology. And the final presentation was again impressive, which dealt with this division of West and East civilization, and how the West and the East is defined, perceived wrongly. The category is actually defined by others, like othering the eastern part of the world. And what makes the Western dominant in this regard, whereas the eastern part is perceived to be ignorant bloc. So with this, let me invite participants to ask questions. Please, in the interest of time, try to just forward a question per person, just a question per participant. You may raise your hand so that I can call. I could give you a chance.
I think everything is understood very properly. So no question.
Yeah, that's the meaning. So that's the meaning. Any question?
We can also take contribution, not only question.
Yeah, questions, comments are most welcomed. So let me use one opportunity here if till the participants raise questions, their hand. Let me just ask this question to Professor Jem. You have tried to mention the challenge of this Islamic banking. How do you see the security issues of this banking service? For instance, the banks are providing money to investors. They share risks. When we see the traditional banking, the conventional banking, they have legal support. The government, because they have been part of the system, they have connection. The government support. Let's say a person borrowed the money, could not pay back. So if you go for legal procedures, you see a government backing, government supporting these banks. But in most of African countries where you have not only Muslim population, but also population following other religions. So you see the Islamic banks having risk in that regard. They are giving money, but when trying to collect the money, they need support from the government in terms of security. It could be legal procedures and what have you. The other one is actually internal. You have also experienced problem and other issues. So how do you see the support from the government?
Thanks for this question. Actually, in Turkey, it is like in Africa countries until the 2005. In 2005, they take the participation bank title. And now Turkey, the government bank, all participation banks also government bank, like other conventional banks in Turkey. But as you see, in Africa, you told there is no governmental bank securities about Islamic banks. Maybe we can establish a mega bank with the IDB countries, the OI countries, and the other IDB countries. A mega bank can provide these bank issues. It can be a bank that cover all the participation bank, all the Islamic banks all over the world, and like these bankrupts or other problems, it can help people to make the system more solid and more healthy.
Thank you. Any question?
Yes.
Go ahead, Senator Mamo.
Okay, thank you. So my first, before all that, I would like to thank all the presenters for their clear and a very informative presentation. My first question will be for the first presenter. I am not sure if I am pronouncing name, Sam Korkut. So as you have mentioned, there is a good opportunities for Islamic banking, particularly in Eastern African. But how do you evaluate the feasibility of these banks where, as we know in Africa, most of the private sector is not developed. And also there is a lot of competition from conventional banks. So what are the feasibilities or the prospect for Islamic bank to expand to these areas? Maybe if I am allowed, for second question for Mr. Muhammad regarding civilization. As you know, after end of 1991 or end of Cold War, there is a notable work of Francis Fukuyama, which expressed that period as end of history in the domination of Western liberal thinking. So in his book titled The End of Civilization, the last man, he mentioned that the post-1991 will be like one ideological supremacy over the rest of the civilizations. So what's your take on this? So do you think still the other civilizations are competing with Western ideologies, or they have given up? So these are my questions. Thank you.
Thanks for questions. First, as you told, there is a huge competition between the conventional banks. In Turkey, it is still very harmful for the participation bank, but they do not need to compete because they have a view, they have a world view. So your consumer types is already restricted. But other restriction in Africa, maybe they can start with the microcredit mechanism, with small and middle enterprise. So social finance, the microcredit finance, and regional banks, regional Islamic banks can develop in time, and after they can make a unit big bank. But in Ottoman Empire, we know that the Ottoman Keşfaks, they even established in the most remotest village, most remotest districts. They are regional, they are the need-based, and they generally finance the small and middle enterprise. First, if you have such problems about competition, they can start with microcredit mechanism, I think. Thank you.
Many thanks for your creation, brother. Actually, I don't accept the thesis of Fukuyama at the end of history, because all accumulations of civilization are still alive and waits to wonder on it. Because we don't live in worlds only physically, but spirituality. And Western world cannot offer any spiritual cure for humanity. So how we do with this problematic climate to live? So we still think, what can we do? Just only Western value. We cannot live together. So we still to look at our own traditions, intellectual cognitive traditions, and to conquer that traditions to supply cure for all humanity. I don't know. It is really answer or not, I'm not sure. But many thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Any other question?
May I ask?
Sure. You can jump in, please.
Okay, I'm not sure whether this is a repetition, but my question is to Professor Jem. What are the good strategies of transferring this Islamic financial bank experience to Africa or to other needy countries? My question. Thank you.
Firstly, maybe the Minister of Finance and the participation bank in Turkey make a cooperation to establish some branch in the East Africa, because we know that in Balkans they establish some participation banks. They branch. They are the capital in Turkey, but the branch are in Balkans. Maybe this can be a starting strategy. After the capital, the Eastern African capital, take this knowledge transfer and build their own regional Islamic banks. But firstly, the state and the state of the Eastern African countries and these participation banks make a cooperation. It is essential.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Let me use this again at one more opportunity to ask a question, Dr. Fatih. You have mentioned a number of issues there. You know, these OIC members, they cooperate. In principle, they are supposed to cooperate over the key engagements. What do you suggest these OIC member countries to cooperate with non-member countries? For instance, you have a country with, let's say, Muslim majority, but they are not member of OIC. Still, there is a need to work with those countries. What do you suggest in this regard? For instance, you can take Turkey as an example. Turkey is going beyond having connection with Africa, despite who is member or who is not, or any other criteria. What do you suggest in this regard? Thank you. Dr. Fatih.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Again, I want to take permission to answer in Turkish.
Sure, please, you can.
Şimdi bu D8 o İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı üye ülkeleri 57 tane ülke var dedik. Sunumda çok özet, zaman az olduğu için çok özet geçtik ama şimdi bu sorunuza Yunus Emre'nin bir mısrasıyla cevap vermek istiyorum. Bölüşürsek tok oluruz, bölünürsek yok oluruz. Şimdi bu uluslararası anlaşmalar, özellikle çifte vergilendirmeyi önleme anlaşmaları, uluslararası ticaret anlaşmaları, ekonomik işbirliği anlaşmaları maalesef İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı üyesi ülkelerde gerekli önem verilmiyor. Örneğin Türkiye'de Dışişleri Bakanlığı'nın bir dairesi altında bu dış uluslararası anlaşmalar hazırlanıyor, taslaklar oluşturuluyor. Bu oluşturulan taslak enine boyuna incelenmeden kar, zarar, olumlu, olumsuz avantaj, dezavantaj bunlar masaya yatırılmadan apar topar yani bakanlığın genel müdürlüğün altındaki bir dairenin hazırladığı uluslararası anlaşma taslağı apar topar meclisten imzalanıyor, yürürlüğe konuluyor. Bu uluslararası anlaşmalar özellikle bizim İslam ülkelerinin hepsi daha ciddi, daha önemli ele almaları gerekiyor. En azından bakanlık düzeyinde bu uluslararası anlaşmaların çalışılması, incelenmesi, üzerine eğilmesi gerekiyor. Hani bu uluslararası anlaşmalardaki amaç da iki tarafın kazanması olması gerekiyor. Şimdi bu İslam İşbirliği üyesi ülkesi 57 ülkenin kendi aralarında doğru düzgün çifte vergilendirmeyi önleme anlaşması imzalamamışlar. Şimdi Türkiye, yine Türkiye'den örnek vereyim. Türkiye, Twitter'ın merkezi olan Dublin'le, İrlanda'yla, Hollanda'yla, Almanya'yla çifte vergilendirmeyi önleme anlaşmaları imzalıyor. Neden İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı kendi üyesi 57 ülke arasında bu tür anlaşmaları teşvik etmiyor veya bir standart tip sözleşme hazırlamıyor? Bunlara uğraşmamız gerekiyor. Yani İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı'nın da bir tip sözleşmesi olması lazım. Gerek çifte vergilendirmeyi önleme anlaşmasında, gerek uluslararası ticaretin geliştirilmesi manasında. Şimdi amaçlarına baktığımız zaman hem D8'in hem de İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı'nın amaçları çok güzel. Ama maalesef bunların altı beklenilen, istenilen, arzu edilen seviyede değil. Arzu edilen seviyede olmadığını da bu paylaştığım grafiklerde gördük. Nüfusun %25'ten fazlası Müslüman olmasına rağmen, dünyadaki devletlerin 1/4'ünden fazlası İslam devleti olmasına rağmen, İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı üyesi olmasına rağmen, hani %25'ten fazla bir hacmimiz var nüfus olarak, ama dış ticarette, üretimde maalesef %8'lerde, 9'lardayız. Bunların yine temeline, sebebine değinmek gerekirse eğitim ve yüksek teknoloji ürünler ve işbirliği, sinerji oluşturulması gerekiyor 57 ülkenin kendi arasında birbiriyle. Bu iki tarafında kazanabileceği şekilde sinerji nasıl oluşturulabilir? İslam İşbirliği Teşkilatı'nın en az bakanlık düzeyinde bu konuda proaktif çalışmalar yapması gerekiyor. Mr. Adem.
Çok sağ olun hocam. Thank you. Any other question? We have very few minutes. Any other question?
Can I have some contribution?
Sure. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to give some suggestion on the question that has raised by Mr. Negavo. I hope if I'm not wrong, he asked about the visibility of Islamic banking in East Africa. Am I right? Okay. Of course, empirical evidence is so much necessary for this one. But as a general, if we say, like in East Africa, most of East African can say that they are a follower of Muslim religion. For example, if we see the Somali, Djibouti, Sudan, in this country, we can say most of the peoples are the follower of Muslim religion. Even if we see in Ethiopia, the most populous country in East Africa, almost half of its population are the follower of Muslim religion. So what I wanted to say here, in East Africa, there is a potential demand for Islamic banking, but the problem is the access to get it as well. This is what I wanted to add. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your input. Thank you. Any question? One more maybe. Again, allow me to ask one question to the final presenter. Dr. Muhammad, you know, you have mentioned the factors why this Eastern Bloc is ignored. You have mentioned a lot of issues. When we think of these problems to be internal and external, some imposed by the Western civilization or the Western Bloc, and some, I believe, some of the problems are internal, self-imposed by the countries in the Eastern Bloc. For instance, failing to introduce the civilization, how they were among the contributors to the world civilization, using technology, using, I mean, media, and telling the world what they have, what they had, what they can again give to the world. So how do you see how important this internal problem is, the internal problem of the eastern part of the world?
Thank you. Very, very hard and important question. Many thanks. The answer is that we lose our perceptions of the truth. This is the main problem. So we need to clarify the perception of the truth, but not reality, the truth. I resemble the elephant descriptions of the blind people seeking people to the truth. So we shouldn't lose the perceptions of the truth. So what is the truth? This is the both internal and external problem and main problem of the Eastern world, I think. If the truth is the common horizon of the realities it manifests, all discourses about this common horizon need to be completed. In this respect, the elephant description I mentioned of the blind offers a very valuable possibility of an analogy. You know, the elephant description. For those who keep an elephant's particular part, the elephant is considered to be just the part they keep. However, if these people were given a preliminary information that the elephant is a large animal, you know, without touching the parts they touch, that each of them will touch a part of this animal, and then they would be asked to explain what kind of animal the elephant has been. Those people would be able to express the elephant in a different and relatively complete way than in the first case. In the second case, it is taught that they will have a common horizon of the truth beyond truth to which this reality will extend to them. In fact, civilizations are actors and subjects who try to understand the truth through the realities that are its manifestations. Therefore, they ought to know that each of them makes sense of the manifestations of the truth in the certain way, and therefore civilization also needs the conceptions of reality of each other. So you mentioned that media, social media, but we should ask, why is the media? What is the telos? So this is the instruments. We need to main destination for what? If this common horizon of the truth applies to everyone, every single civilization, they will have more opportunities to benefit from each other. Right? This is the answer. We losing our perceptions of the truth, and the truth combines all civilizations each other for benefiting from each other, I think. But I couldn't receive your voice, Mr. Bokeh.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Answer. I really thank you, the presenters, the participants. So if I was not that fair in terms of time allotment, I'm very sorry among the presenters. So the program continues, but after one music, you are kindly invited to attend to listen this music coming.
First of all, I would like to welcome you all to this session of Orda's second and ADAM-ACTR's 15th Joint International Conference under this theme and sponsored by Orda Research and Development Association, Ankara Center for Thought and Research, and the YTB and the Ministry of Culture and Tourism. So now I would like to introduce our first presenter, Mr. Aydın Kudat, who is the assistant professor in the Faculty of Islamic Sciences at Ankara Yıldırım University. He will present his presentation under the topic of opportunities and challenges of foreign students in Turkey. Assistant Professor Aydın Kudat, he has worked in the various departments of the Directorate of Religious Affairs in Turkey and abroad, famously known as the Diyanet İşleri. The professor has also publications in Turkish, Arabic, and English. This is a short introduction about Mr. Aydın Kudat. And I would like to welcome Professor to present his presentation in 10 minutes, as you all know, and the floor is yours. Mr. Aydın Kudat. Yes, can you unmute yourself, please? Mr. Aydın Kudat. Please, can you unmute yourself? It is muted. Or the host can help us to unmute Mr. Aydın Kudat.
Yeah. Where
is Mr. Aydın Kudat?
Galiba geliyor. Es Grüße ich alle und ich möchte bedanken, dieses Symposium zu verboten und ich möchte meine Paper in türkischer Sprache präsentieren. أنا أحب أولاً أقدم تحياتي وامتناني لهذا المؤتمر القيم وأقدم تحياتي لجميع الحضور. Müsaadenizle ben tebliğimi Türkçe olarak takdim etmek istiyorum.
Evet, tamam, devam edebilirsiniz.
Tebliğimizin başlığı Türkiye'de uluslararası öğrenciler için eğitim fırsatları ve karşılaştıkları muhtemel zorluklar. Bu tebliğ yabancı öğrenciler için Türkiye'nin onlara sunduğu eğitim fırsatları ve öğrencilerin karşılaştıkları muhtemel zorlukları ele almaktadır. Bu çalışma ağırlıklı olarak saha araştırmasına dayanmaktadır. Çalışmada 3 temel kaynak referans alındı. Bunlardan biri resmi kaynaklardan alınan bilgiler, ikincisi bu alanda yapılan bilimsel çalışmalar, üçüncüsü ankete katılan yabancı öğrencilerden alınan geri dönütler ile öğrencilerin beyanları. Bunun için bir ay gibi devam eden yabancı öğrencilerle yüz yüze görüşmeler yanında Türkiye'de eğitim görmekte olan yabancı öğrencilerin katıldığı anket yapıldı. Bu anket sonunda harmanlayıp yorumlandıktan sonra tabii makale yayınlandığında bu konudaki detaylı bilgiler elbette ki bunlara ulaşma imkanı olacaktır. Biz burada 10 dakika zarfında kısaca özetlemeye çalışacağız. Bir de tabii bu çalışmanın amaçlarından biri Türkiye'de eğitim ve öğretim imkanlarını, fırsat ve zorluklarını ortaya koymak, buna bağlı olarak bilim, kültür, sosyal ve ekonomi gibi alanlarda ülkeler arasında karşılıklı işbirliği ve dayanışmaya katkı sağlamak. Bu noktadan hareketle eğitim ve kültürel dayanışma diğer alanlardaki işbirliğe önemli oranda kapı açabileceği kanaatindeyiz. Bu çalışmanın diğer bir amacı da fırsat ve zorlukları yabancı öğrenciler gözüyle bakmak, böylece Türkiye'ye eğitim öğretim için gelme düşüncesinde olanlara objektif değerlendirme imkanını onlara sunmaktır. Bilindiği üzere Türkiye 2000'li yılların başından itibaren dünyanın her yerinden çok sayıda yabancı öğrenci çekmeye başladı. Aslında bu durum ülkenin uluslararası öğrencilere sunduğu fırsat çeşitleriyle alakalı bir sonuçtur. Eğitim için Türkiye'ye gelen öğrencilere eğitim, kültür ve sosyal alanda birçok fırsatlar sunulmaktadır. Bunları özet şeklinde bir maddeleştirmeye çalışıyoruz burada. Tabii ki bunun yanında bazı zorluklar da elbette ki mevcuttur. Bunları maddeler halinde özet olarak sunmaya çalışacağım. 1. Türk halkının yabancı öğrencilere sevgi ve saygı ile yaklaşımı, misafirperverliği, renk, ten, din, ırk ayrımı yapmadan bütün insanlara sevecen yaklaşımı. 2. Üniversitelerin nicel ve nitel olarak dünyanın ileri ülkeleri arasında yer alması, içerik olarak teorik ve pratik açıdan her türlü bilimsel araştırma imkanının bulunması, ilave olarak öğrencilerin üniversite akademik ortamında düşünce, fikir ve görüşlerini özgürce tasarlayabildiği demokratik ve özgür bir ortamın bulunması. Tabii bu maddeler yabancı öğrencilerin ankete katılarak geri dönütlerinden özetlediğimiz maddeler bunlar. 3. başlıkta üniversitelerin teknik ve mesleki yetiştirme bağlamında Türkiye üniversitelerinin göreceli olarak donanımının yeterli olması. 4. Diğer tarafta Türkiye'de sağlık sisteminin çok gelişmiş olması, sağlık sigortası Avrupa ülkelerinden hem ileri hem nispeten daha ucuz olması, barınma imkanı, ulaşımın hem hızlı hem güvenli olması, iletişim ve internet altyapının donanımının geniş imkanlar sunması, bunlar ankete katılan yabancı öğrencilerin geri dönüt olarak bizlere göndermiş oldukları fırsatlar ve avantajlar. Elbette ki bunun yanında muhtemel zorluklar adına da öğrencilerin bize geri dönütlerinden açıkladığı sonuçları da birkaç madde halinde onları da burada paylaşmak istiyorum. Elbette ki bunların da göz önünde tutulmasında yarar vardır. Öğrencilerin öncelikle dile getirdikleri zorlukları da şöyle sıralamak mümkündür. Türkiye'de hava durumu ve iklim farklılığı. Özellikle de sıcak iklimlerde, örneğin Afrika gibi, bunun yanında tropikal iklimlerden gelen öğrenciler için Türkiye'de kış mevsiminde şartların biraz onları zorladığı anlaşılmaktadır. Böyle bir netice çıkarabildik anketlerden. İkinci önemli husus dil sorunu. Malumunuz Türkiye'de akademik çalışmalar birçok dilde yapılmakta. Ancak Türkçe eğitim verilen fakültelerde, birimlerde, bölümlerde okuyan öğrenciler en azından bir yıl Türkçe hazırlık kurslarına gitmeleri gerekir. Bu sorunu çözmeden Türkçe eğitim veren bölümlerde öğrencilerin nispeten zorlandıklarını görüyoruz. Elbette ki bu sorun, tabi birazdan değineceğim. Bu sorun Avrupa'nın birçok ülkesinde mevcuttur. Uzun zaman Avrupa'da kalmış biri olarak ben bunu bir fiil olarak şahit oldum ve biliyorum. Birazdan oraya değineceğim, karşılaştırmalı olarak bazı Avrupa ülkelerinde ve Türkiye'deki eğitim öğretimindeki yabancı öğrencilerin karşılaştıkları sorunlar. Üçüncü maddede devlet bursu olmayanlar için barınma ve geçim zorluğu bazı öğrencilerin dile getirdiği dezavantajlar şeklinde maddeleştirebiliriz bunu. Özellikle ailece Türkiye'ye gelenler için bu konuda biraz zorlandıklarını dile getirmektedirler. Bilindiği gibi Türkiye'de uluslararası öğrencileri 2014 yılında 50 bin civarındayken 2020 yılı itibariyle Türkiye Yüksek Öğretim Kurumu'na, yani YÜK'e göre Türkiye'de 200 yakın öğrenci bulunmakta. 2021 yılında 200 bini geçmesi tahmin edilmekte. Bu da Türkiye'deki uluslararası öğrenci sayısındaki bu muazzam artışın temelinde yukarıda söylenen faktörler olduğunu belirtmek isterim. Ancak bu durum, yani ülkede çok sayıda yabancı öğrencilerin hiç karşılaşmadıkları zorlukların olmadığı anlamına da gelmez. Elbette ki objektif olarak bunları da dile getirmekte fayda vardır. Örneğin Amerika Birleşik Devletleri'de orada giden öğrencilerin zikrettikleri öncelikli zorluklar, vize zorluğu, azalan iş beklentileri, pahalılık, barınma ve sınıf ayrımcılığı. Avrupa ülkelerinde örneğin yakından bildiğim bazı ülkelerde kendi dilleriyle eğitim öğretim vermekte. Mesela Almanya dünyanın birçok ülkelerinden öğrenci celbetmekte, sığınmacı öğrencilere birçok fırsatlar vermekte. Ancak eğitim öğretimin dili mutlaka Alman dilinde şart koşmakta ve bu da oralarda da öğrenciler o dili öğrenme mecburiyetinde kalmaktadırlar. İşte buradan hareketle dünyanın farklı yerlerinden öğrenci çeken çok sayıda elbette ki fırsat vardır. Bu avantaj,
sesim geliyor mu?
Burs imkanları gelmekte. Evet, buyurun.
Kurallarımız gereği 2 dakikanız kalıyor. Sunum biliyorsunuz acaba? Dur.
Hemen 2 dakika.
Evet,
2 dakika.
10 dakikaydı. Evet.
Teşekkürler.
Rica ederim.
Türkiye'ye çeken çok sayıda fırsatlar bulunmakta, yukarı bunları zikrettik. Bu avantajların başında burs imkanı, çeşitli araştırmalar, aylık maaş, sağlık sigortası, öğrenim ücreti ve konaklama gibi bu burs paketlerinin binlerce öğrenciyi Türkiye'ye çeken çok önemli faktörler olduğunu göstermektedir. Türkiye'de önemli bir avantaj da şu var, bununla bitirmek istiyorum. Türkiye üniversitelerinin çoğu kendileriyle aynı şehirde bulunan şirketlerle işbirliği içindedirler. Bunun özeti şudur: öğrencilerin teoride öğrendikleri pratik bilgi edinmelerine izin vermekte Türkiye'de. Hem yerli hem de yabancı öğrencilere bu tür şirketlerde staj yapmak için altın bir fırsat imkanı vermekte. Çoğu uluslararası öğrenciler bunu kendi ülkelerinde kolayca elde edemeyeceği bir değer olarak değerlendirdiklerini görmekteyiz. Bütün bu yorumlar yabancı öğrencilerin anket sonucunda bize sundukları bilgilerden özetleyerek maddeleştirdiğimiz başlıklar. Örneğin burada bir maddeyle örneğin İslam ülkeleri için istatistik, ekonomik ve sosyal araştırma, eğitim merkezi, SESRİK, İslam Kalkınma Teşkilatı üye ülkeleri ve dünyadaki Müslüman toplumları etkileyen ekonomik, sosyal konular hakkında daha fazla bilgi edinmek isteyen, yüksek motivasyonlu ve başarılı öğrenciler staj imkanı sunmakta. Öğrenciler bunlardan istifade etmekte ve anketlerin geri dönüklerinde bu tür avantajların Türkiye'de altın fırsat şeklinde olduğunu bize bildirmektedirler. Aslında anketlerin bütün anketlerin çetelesini, sonuçlarını makale yayınlandığında çok rahat bir şekilde okuma imkanı olacak, yararlanma imkanı olacak. Ben burada zamanı fazla uzatmamak adına bu miktarla yetinmek istiyorum. Ve şükran lil kül işmuhte bedanke fur alle. Selamun Aleyküm.
Ve aleykümselam. Çok teşekkür ederiz Sayın Aydın Kudat hocamız. So our presenter, he presented his presentation in Turkish, and I would like to just summarize just a few pointers for our participants or audiences who do not know Turkish. So in just 2 minutes. So Mr. Aydın, his topic, it was about the opportunities and the challenges of foreign students in Turkey. So the results of his survey says, for example, we can mention some of the opportunities that international students can have in Turkey. He said the love of the Turkish people towards international students, the hospitality of the Turkish people, the quality of education, the comparatively quality education in Turkey, the absence or the little absence of racism in Turkey. And he also said the health insurance, it is relatively cheaper when compared to some European countries. And he also said the gaps of opportunities like internship or some applications are found. And finally, he also mentioned the lifestyle ship is cheaper and suitable for international students. And among the challenges for international students, which he mentioned, are number one, the seasonal and weather difference for those people who come especially from Africa, he said, or where the places are hot. And he also mentioned about the TOMR. We all know, those who study here, the 1 year language, Turkish language preparation. So it is not easy just to learn a language in 1 year and follow your or pursue your academic career in Turkish. And the last point he mentioned for those with non-scholarship, for those students who are not supported with a scholarship from the government, and for those who have their own family, he said the accommodation fee and health insurance is a bit expensive. And so these are some of the challenges and the opportunities which I have summarized. And I would like to thank Professor Aydın Kudat for his presentation. And I may have missed some pointers because I had to translate from Turkish to English, and I would like to ask apologies. And so now we will continue with the next presenter. Our next presenter will be Francisco Jose Lopez Jr. He's a graduate of medical doctorate from Adnan Menderes University, and he was born in Bissau, Guinea-Bissau, and he's a medical doctor and also researcher. So his topic will be focused on Turkish health cooperation? Can it prevent the brain drain and else in the health sector? So without taking and consuming most of your time, I would like to invite our guest speaker, Dr. Francisco. This is your platform. Please proceed.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee by giving me the opportunity to present my research in this very important activity. And I would like to thank all those who have contributed also for these activities to become a reality. The topic of my presentation, I'm Francisco Jalabu Jr., first of all. I'm from Guinea-Bissau, and I'm graduated of medical school here in Turkey, as I said. The topic of my presentation would be the Turkey-Somali health cooperation. Can it prevent the brain drain and health in the African health sector? And I will start by presenting the historical perspective as well as the brain drain and related topics, causes of brain drain in health sector of Africa, specifically also in Somalia, and the possible contribution of this Turkey-Somali cooperation to prevent the brain drain in the continent. And my research will answer the questions that you can see on the right of this screen. Okay, I would like to start by saying that Turkey-Somali relationship was a historical relationship of a long time. And as you know, Somali also is a country, a part of the countries of Akraba toplulukları, as said first of all before. And I would like to stress this point that Turkey has declared the 2005 as Year of Africa, and where they started a lot of policies and cooperation to African country. And Somalia was one of the most important countries for this. And in 2011, the visit of the Prime Minister of Turkey, now the President, His Excellency Recep Tayyip Erdogan, which I consider this visit as one of the most important catalyzer of Turkey and Somali relationship. And in that time, according to the World Health Organization data, 3.5 million of people need a health emergency healthcare service, and 2.8 million of people also required improved water and sanitation quality. As well as this intervention at the time, intervention of Turkey at that time, I want to say, until now, I can define them as activism, humanitarianism, and leadership roles as they mobilize a lot of their organizations in every sectors, like in the health sectors or businessmen and all other organizations, also humanitarian organizations, to invest and also to invest in Somalia. Okay. And one of the most important topic of my presentation would be the Recep Tayyip Erdogan Hospital and the contribution of this hospital to remain the brain in the continent. I want to say that this is a hospital built in 2015 and started in 2015. It has got 230 beds and treats average of 60,000 patients and 100 surgeries per month. I want to say that this is one of the most modern and the most modern hospital in East Africa, most modern and equipped hospital, which means that it has got a high diagnostic capacity, treatment of serious disease, managing the emergency cases, reduce the mortality. And one of the most important thing I want to stress of this hospital is that it allows the rotation of health professionals of higher hospitals in Turkey to go and teach in the hospital of Somalia, and to train the health professionals there, starting from paramedics until medical doctors. And also, according to the reports, this hospital also gives facility to people that are working there to come to Turkey and get the training, get the specialization also, as it is open for everybody. Okay, and I would like to talk about the increased number of health professionals also that it has, because since the cooperation of Turkey-Somali Health Cooperation, many of Somalian students from high school, they come here to study medicine and health sciences like nursing, dentistry, midwifery, and other courses that they study here. And I would like to say that it is important for us to understand the impact of this hospital. For example, it's important to remember that every second in Africa, dozens of people die from malaria, dozens of people die from AIDS, dozens of people died from acute surgery cases, and dozens of people also, as you know, dies from acute complication of chronic disease and accidents. So it is very important. With this hospital of such a capacity, if we have them in different parts of countries of Africa, mainly in sub-Saharan Africa, it will help a lot. And I would like to talk about the brain drain here, which is one of the most important thing of my presentation. Brain drain means a migration of a highly qualified health professional. I mean, brain drain in health refers to a highly qualified health professional from underdeveloped country to a developing country. Brain gain is always a term that is used, a terminology that is used to refer the benefits of developed countries in this phenomenon. Also, brain circulation, as I say, this hospital is an example of brain circulation because many scholars from Turkey, they come to Somalia to perform surgeries and to train the health professional, as well as professionals from Somalia come to and go to Turkey to get qualified training, and other parts of the world also to come to their country to work again. This is one of the most important things. And as I want to say here, we have some data that I would like to share with you on the brain drain to show you the importance of this topic and why Africa should work in order to work against this phenomenon. In too many countries of Africa, there are more locally, and too many African countries, there are more locally born physicians residing outside than in their country. This is the example of Guinea-Bissau. Most of the physicians or health professionals migrate to abroad to get a higher standard of life. This puts enormous strain in African health sector of the continent. And here, according to the World Health Organization data, the African average physician, 2012 to 2016, 26 countries, according to the available data, is 0.45 physician per 1,000 people. And here, as you can see, many African countries spend a lot of money to train people abroad. According to the UNESCO also report, Africa is the continent that spends more money in training medical professionals outside Africa. And this money goes on drain, and these medical doctors do not come back. Why don't they come back? Okay, we will understand all those things. And here, as you can see the data, destination countries do not pay for the cost of training of African doctors, they recruit. And here, as you can see, Australia, US, and Canada save, you can see here, 846 million, 621 million, and $384 million in training costs from African physicians they recruit. And as you can see here, there are some factors that make this physician migrate. For example, factors of Africa, we call them pushing factors, that is in Somalia also: war, political instability, declining quality of educational system, lack of intellectual freedom, and lack of research facilities, inadequate research funds, lack of career opportunity, nepotism, clientelism, and recruitment, social agitation, and other problems like low wage and not paying the salary on time.
Dr. Francisco, can you hear my voice, please?
Yes, yes.
I think you are left with only 2 minutes. Please try to wrap up.
Okay. And here we have pulling factors. These are the factors that are in developed countries, like open-minded, more democratic, inclusive, advanced technology experiences, research facility, political stability, and other meritocracy over nepotism, and also career development. And most important thing, the health infrastructures that we do not have in Africa, that developed countries have, the possibility of diagnostic, as I said before. Here we come to this. When we come to the solution, Africa need to invest, as they don't have good economy. In Somalia also, one of the examples, and they don't have investment, and they don't have a lot of projects to maintain this brain in the continent. Lack of infrastructure. We don't have good infrastructure with the capacity of diagnosing the health problems and pathologies also. Diagnostic tools also. This makes the brain drain. This makes the migration of health professionals. And this leads to lack of human resources and problems in health system. What should Africa do? African governments should work and cooperate with other governments to make the brains remain in the continent, to make them circulate and get the education, but to come back and provide the health services in the continent, like it's happening in Somalia according to this hospital beneficial. And here, you say that African continent also should offer a high salary to the health professional and protect them and give them a high standard of life in all sectors, not only in health sector. And they should also put meritocracy in the top of everything in job recruitment, and give opportunity to health professionals to get the career opportunity. And also here, as we can see, most of African countries do not have good and high quality medical school. This is also what makes people goes outside. And what we need in Africa is the brain circulation and the brain return to the continent. And here, I would like to finish my presentation by remembering these two words. Like there is a speech of Obama in the visit to South Africa. It says that if we have African leaders and governments and institutions which creating a platform for success and opportunity, then you will increasingly get more talent wanting to stay. Once you reach a tipping point, not only will stop the brain drain, then it will start reversing. You know, the brains will start coming back to Africa. And the future of African youth, this is another speech of President of African Development Bank. It said the future of African youth does not lie in migration to Europe. It should not be the bottom of the Mediterranean. It lies on prosperous Africa. We must create a greater economic opportunities for the youth right at the home in Africa by reversing the brain drain and creating safe spaces for youth people to realize their potential. Africa will begin reap the benefit of its democratic belt. This is very important. And I would like to finish my presentation by quoting this important thing. They say that Japanese attitude of work. They say, if one can do it, I can do it. And if no one can do it, I must do it. Middle Eastern attitude of work said, if one can do it, wallah, let them do it. If no one can do it, ya habibi, how can I do it? So I would like to say that all of us, all the countries of Africa should say that we can do it. We can give good quality of education to our medical professionals. For example, to doctors, to nursing. We can educate them at home by establishing cooperation, by making them circulate in the world. And we can also have very good infrastructure in Africa, in African countries, like it is happening in Somalia. If Somalia can do it, all African countries can do it. If Turkish-Somalian cooperation can do it, all African cooperation also with other countries, including Turkey, can do it. But if no one can do it, all of us African countries, we must do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Dr. Francisco Jose. The topic of this presentation was about Turkish-Somali health cooperation. Since he is a graduate of medicine, he focused on this area. So as a solution, he recommended about, this brain circulation and about brain return to the opposite of brain drain. Actually, this brain drain is not only limited to medical doctors, it is also expanded to different areas of career, also in professors and also engineers and social scientists. And also as a solution you recommended about investment projects and human resources, which is focused actually on based on merit, and that is meritocracy, and not just by knowing one bureaucrat. So thank you again for your valuable presentation, and now we will continue our presentation with the last presenter of today's session, Dr. Yusuf Abubakar Warah. He is a doctoral candidate at Ankara Hacı Bayram Veli University. His research areas are on politics, international politics, and social science. Today's topic of his is the contributions of international students to Turkey's emerging multicultural society. So I would like to invite Dr. Yusuf to present his paper. Can you hear my voice, please?
I can hear you.
Yes, please proceed.
Okay, I have just shared my screen. Can you see it?
Yes, yes, we can see it.
Okay, let me see if I can. Okay, that's it.
So I would like to remind you, just we have 10 minutes as
yeah, okay, just 10 minutes.
Yes.
Okay, let me see. I will try to summarize the presentation. Okay, thank you very much. As the moderator has said, the topic of my presentation is the contributions of international students to Turkey's emerging multicultural society. Multiculturalism in Turkey is not a new thing. It's as old as the country itself. We can deduce that from the saying of Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi, who say, "Hosh gurulitan, Denis give you all, intolerance be like sea." So this saying is significantly connected to the concept of multiculturalism, because multiculturalism is connected with the tolerance. Without tolerance, there cannot be multiculturalism. In other words, without tolerance, people cannot come together. People of different ethnic group, of different background, of different language, of different color will never come together and stay. But because of tolerance, if people are tolerant, it is easier for different people to come together and stay under the same environment peacefully. While we have so many tribalism, and likewise in other parts of the world, is because of lack of tolerance. Secondly, Maulana also said, "Bize bizdendir, whosoever come to us is part of us." This saying, this common saying, has also promoted the concept of multiculturalism in Turkey. So in other words, multiculturalism in Turkey is not a new thing. It's as old as the country itself. The aim of the study is to justify the contributions of international students to Turkey Multicultural Society. We also want to prove that multiculturalism is of importance in societal development through displaying higher creativity and innovations. In whichever you have a multicultural society, you realize that the innovations, the knowledge productions, the advancement of the society is likely going to be high. And we have seen that in Turkey. In the last decade, Turkey is improving bit by bit, doing better than most European countries. Interpretive analysis are adopted to explain the contributions and the merit of multiculturalism to Turkish society. The research emphasis is on foreigners who came to Turkey as a student and got married to Turkish or got a job and have decided to permanently stay in the country. Books, articles, journals of relevance are consulted, including website of some organization, including Turkish Statistic Organization. The study is founded on the assumption that when international students are contributing to Turkey's, whether international students are contributing to Turkey's emerging multiculturalism, definitely yes. We are going to justify that bit by bit. It is important to note that multiculturalism is interpreted as migrant integration that allows minority to be included in a society, at the same time maintaining and developing their cultural belief and religious practices. This is visibly seen in Turkey. In most of the cities, people from different parts of the world, from all the 7 continents, are coming to Turkey. They get married, to study and get a job and reside here permanently. In Turkey, in year 2001, there were only 16,656 international students in the country. As of December 2020, the number has risen to 185,047 students, international students. That's according to Council of Higher Education. As Professor Aiden has just presented, the reason for this increase is because of the tolerance and other vital opportunities that these students are getting in the country. According to Turkish Statistical Institute, the international migration statistics in the country showed that only in 2019, number of immigrants increased by 17.2% compared to previous year and reached to 677,042 people in the country. Foreign populations residing in Turkey is now at 1,333,410 people. 49.7% of this population were males and 50.3% of them were females. They are all from all parts of the world. This is according to Turkish Statistical Council. The number of foreign brides were 23,264 in 2019, accounting for 4.3% of the total brides. What it means here that 4.3% of brides in Turkey in 2019 are foreigners. And what we observe is these foreigners who got married to Turkish, they hardly return back to their home country. Most of them reside here. An indication which is proving our assumption that they are contributing to the multicultural society of the country. The number of foreign grooms was 4,580, accounting for 0.8% of the total grooms in Turkey in the same year, which is 2019. According to Turkish Minister of Family, Labor and Social Services, Zehra Zumrut Seljuk, while the foreigners who got job in Turkey in 2017 were only 87,182, the number rose to 115,837 in 2018, and 145,232 in 2019. We have not seen the figure in 2020, but this 2017, these 3 years indicate that the number of foreigners who are now getting job and residing in Turkey is increasing significantly. And of course, it's needless to say that those foreigners who get job in the country are going to reside in the country permanently. This means they are contributing to the multicultural society of Turkey. They will reside here, get married, have children, and these children will get married. They will also have children. And in the long run, you see that multiculturalism is being promoted by these foreigners significantly. The research found out that most international students who got married to Turkish hardly returned to their home countries, especially those who got married to brides. If you got married to a Turkish girl, you hardly take her out. You have to stay here. Though some does, but not all. So it's also a proof that they are residing here and they are contributing to the multicultural society of the country. It was also observed that in Turkey, some foreign students who have completed their studies got job in the country and settled there permanently, as we have just indicated. Presently, Turks, Kurds, Albanians, Arabs, Armenians, Assyrians, Azerbaijanis, Bosniaks, Bulgarians, Chechens, Circassians, Crimean Tatars, Greeks, Lazi, Megloni, Romanians, Roma are the ethnic compositions in Turkey. With the influence of international students and migrants from Africa to Turkey, very soon, we will start hearing African Turkish and the rest
Mr.
of
Yusuf,
them.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I think we are left only with 2 minutes.
So, okay, let me just say,
try to conclude,
quickly
yes.
go through the advantages of multiculturalism to Turkish society. I'm going to touch only one of these. One of the effective and way of multiculturalism is of advantage, through which international students contribute significantly to Turkish society, is increase in creativity and innovations. International students who come to Turkey and get integrated, got educations, they got jobs, some of them got married to Turkish and reside in the country. What I wanted to pinpoint out here is the integrations process. There are so many organizations, civil society organizations, who help in integrating the student to the society. On the forefront of this organization is the Ankara Düşünce ve Araştırma Merkezi, Ankara Center for Research and Thought, a very important educational room where several students from different parts of the country come together. Sometimes they discuss on various issues. They got knowledge, and this will help them in understanding the Turkish society very well. So the conclusion, the number of international students coming to Turkey for studies have increased significantly from less than 20,000 to nearly 200,000 just in the last decade. As a result of the above fact, we have also witnessed increase in the number of international students who got married to Turkish and those who got job and decide to stay in the country permanently. The above justification indicate that foreign students are contributing to Turkish multiculturalism. Multiculturalism itself, through increasing cultural diversity, promotes creativity and innovation, which this research sees as an advantage to Turkey. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Yusuf Abubakar Warah, for your insightful presentation on the topic of the contribution of international students to Turkey's emerging multicultural society. Now, I would like to proceed to the discussion part. Let us see who have any questions to our three presenters, Assistant Professor Aiden, Dr. Francisco, and Dr. Yusuf. They were the three presenters for this session. If you have questions, please unmute yourself and ask for, and please, the host can help us to unmute those who want to ask the questions in order. Yes, please. Okay, I see that Abdulaziz Muhammad, he wanted to ask a question. Can the host unmute him, please?
Yeah, I'm unmuted. Are you hearing me?
Yes, yes, we can. Proceed.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers and the presenters for their efforts in presenting their research, and also the Orda for giving the platform for everyone to present their research ideas. And the first thing that I will ask is the first presenter who talked about Dr. Aiden, Professor Aiden Kudat. He talked about the opportunities and challenges that international students are facing in Turkey. And I would like to know only one thing, that's the place where the research has been made. Is it has been undertaken? Is it in Turkey? Is it in Istanbul or Ankara? Like, where are the students coming from? Is it like predominantly from Istanbul or Ankara? Because I know some students, because the professor talked about the internet. Good internet is one of the opportunities or the benefits that international students are getting in Turkey. So some students in Istanbul also are talking about like internet challenges, internet problems in Uzali, like especially in developed dormitories, the government dormitories. So I want to know that. And if I made clear myself, I don't know. Then the second thing I would like to ask is to the second presenter who talked about the contribution. The brain drain, yeah, that's the second. I'd like to know also this, the idea of brain drain. Are the Turkish investments in Africa, particularly Somalia, is the result of this brain drain? Are the Turkish like causing intentionally? Is there something behind this, Turkish generosity towards East African countries? I would like to know that thing. If this is intentional, I don't know, according to your research, it may be a kind of like, if we are giving someone something, then there must be a return for us. That's what I understood. And if you can at least clarify to me that if this brain drain from like migrations, particularly health professionals coming from lower underdeveloped countries to developed countries, if that's a result of the policies which was firstly proposed by Turkish government in order to attract those talents. And the third question that I would like to ask is the last presenter. The last presenter talked about the contribution of international students to Turkish multiculturalism. One thing that I'd like to ask is to what extent does the Turkish family accept one of international students married to their girl? Like, are they like, do they show utter a complete shock whenever they see like international students married to their girl? Or are they normal? Are they extreme? I'd like to know those things because I haven't seen you clarifying this issue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Abdulaziz, for asking the questions. Please ask only one question at a time. So I didn't warn, I just kept silent. So let us have some more questions and we'll come back to the answers. Anyone who has a question, please? Questions from our participants? Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much. I would like to thank all presenters for their excellent presentation and a very informative presentation, of course. My question goes to Dr. Francisco, who was talking about Turkey-Somali health cooperation. My first question is, you mentioned about brain drain, and we know that brain drain is a very serious issue nowadays. But is there any country in Africa which can be mentioned as an example, like by retaining the professionals not to move from their own country to other countries, maybe apart from Somalia, because that could serve as a model for other African countries, I hope. The other question is, I want to see the other side of the story, especially there are some countries in Africa particularly who do have a mismatch in a plan. For example, they put many students in a medical school or whatever school, professional school, and then they produce many professionals. And then finally those professionals cannot secure a job. So is there a possible, what do you think about exporting professionals to other countries? And that could maybe serve as a source of income to those African countries. So what do you suggest on the other side of like the brain drain? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sadiq Al-Mahdi, for asking the question. Anyone who is who wants to ask a question, please proceed. Anyone who has a question? Okay, if you don't have any question, so let us start with Assistant Professor Aydin to answer his first question, and then we'll proceed. Please try to be as precise as possible. Yes, please, go on, Professor Aydin.
Können Sie Sprache Deutsch oder Arabik? Hel imkanikum en tes'elu bil Arabiye? Ya da Türkçe sorabilir mi? Üzgünüm, ben tam İngilizce anlayamadım.
Sorusunu ben Türkçe'ye tercüme etmeye çalışayım.
Lütfen.
Sorusu mesela siz internet hızıyla ilgili Türkiye'de bunun bir fırsat olduğunu söylediğini dile getirmişti soran arkadaş. Dolayısıyla bu anketi yaparken tam olarak Türkiye'de neredeyiz ve uluslararası öğrenciler hangi ülkeden gelen öğrenciler idi diye sormuş kendisi.
Tabii ben üniversitede akademisyenim. Aynı zamanda bir düşünce araştırma merkezinde de çalışıyorum. Birçok sivil kuruluşlarda da çalışıyorum. Dolayısıyla Ankara bazında dünyanın birçok ülkesinden gelen öğrencilerle anket yaptık. Ve Ankara'da okuyan öğrenciler kanalıyla Türkiye'nin birçok şehrinde okuyan öğrencilere de ulaşma imkanına sahip olduk. Bu bir. İkincisi, ben aynı zamanda Uluslararası Yazarlar Birliği'ndeyim. Ve Perşembe günü dünyanın birçok ülkesinden akademisyenlerin katıldığı son toplantı yaptık. Türkiye'de bu pandemi döneminde uzaktan eğitim, yani online, dijital eğitimin altyapısının birçok ülkeden daha gelişmiş olduğunu orada şahit oldum. Dolayısıyla internet erişimi, iletişim Türkiye'de Avrupa ülkeleriyle mukayese edilecek kadar ileri derecede olduğunu ve orada müşahede ettim. Bu bir. İkincisi, ankete katılan öğrencilerin geri dönütleri, feedbacklerinden de biz bu neticeyi görebiliyoruz Türkiye'de.
Teşekkür ederim Sayın Aydın hocamız. I think Mr. Abdulaziz asked this question. Hopefully, since you are in Turkey, you understand his Turkish. So he said he's an academician in Ankara University. Ankara, I think it must be Ankara Beyazıt. Değil mi? Yanlış mı söyledim?
Doğru.
So Ankara Yıldırım Beyazıt University. He is a faculty. He's a teacher of Islamic sciences in Ankara Yıldırım Beyazıt University. So he said he is also a member of different international organizations, and he can see from there also that this research was also made in Ankara. So this is the answer to your question. And now we will proceed with Dr. Yusuf. You have, I think, one question about the Turkish families, Mr. Abdulaziz asked. And then,
Brother Abdulaziz asked to what extent Turkish accepts international students as a bride or groom. I think he has some doubt about whether international students, or let me just say foreigners in general, are easily accepted as a brides or groom in Turkish when seeking marriage. So let me just say this. Firstly, the most important thing is that we have seen an increase in these marriages, inter-ethnic, or what did you call it, international marriages, or whatever name you call it in Turkey. We have several student friends from Nigeria, from Ghana, from Iraq, especially brides from Syria and what have you, who got married to Turkish. So this is a fact. Secondly, on the question that whether the acceptability concept that he is asking here, in every society, even if you come from the same society, marriage has its own issues. Even if a Turkish want to propose to a Turkish, the family must come together and sit down. The families, some families will reject, some will accept. So this is a general traditions of marriage in every part of the world. In your own country, in my own country, it's like that. In everyone's country, it's like that. Wherever you seek a girl's hand in marriage, some part of the family will accept, some will reject. So in Turkey, let's be specific here in Turkey, as I discussed with a friend of mine who got married to Turkish, they have an organizations Nigerians who married Turkish girls, something, they have an organization like that. Or what they used to discuss about this issue too among themselves. What he told me that if the girl you are seeking has in marriage, she's from the city, the major city. When we say the major city, we are talking about Antalya, Izmir, Ankara, and the likes. So the acceptability is gonna be high from the family side. But if the girl is from the remote area, like the villages, the acceptability is gonna be very low. That's what he told me. So I think that's the only thing I can share with you here. Those who live in the city, like, okay, those who are, can I say, more exposed to the international environment are more easily to accept you, but the acceptability is there. That's it, it is positive. We have a lot of students who got married to Turkish here. So I think I have done justice to your question, Abdulaziz. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Yusuf, for your reply. So now we will proceed with Dr. Francisco. I think you have two questions about the Turkish-Somali relation. How is the sincerity, or do they need something in return? And a question by Dr. Sadiq Al-Mahdi, the examples of brain retaining countries in Africa. So just please proceed.
Thank you very much. May I request the name of the second?
Yeah, Sadiq Al-Mahdi. Sadiq Al-Mahdi.
Al-Mahdi.
Al-Mahdi, yes.
Thank you very much for the question. This is a very important question. First of all, I would like to follow with the answer of the question of Mr. Abdulaziz that asked about the Turkish-Somali relationship, whether it is just a normal generosity of Turkey to African countries and other relations also in health, or do they need anything in return? Okay, as you know, developed countries, Turkey is a country, in the category of developed, in my opinion, comparing the sub-Saharan African countries. And here, all the interventions of humanitarian intervention and others are mostly soft power, and also a way of helping the countries to sell the picture of the country. Help developing countries and sell the picture of the country to attract the cooperation also that they can get from. Of course, the hospital built in Somalia, it is not only a hospital, it also employs the Turkish citizens, like professors from other parts. They pay them to go and teach people in Somalia, to go and offer the health service in Somalia, for example. Many people goes on rotation, for example, nurses and midwiferys from Turkey to Somalia. That is also a way of showing their culture outside, showing their way, how can I say, their humanitarianism, their good heart. It is the way also of attraction, as you said. Also, it has got another kind of implications, but I would like to talk about it in my presentation, mostly on the infrastructure and the capacity of the hospital, a reference hospital and a modern hospital, in order to contribute to maintain of the brain in the continent. Why? Because most of African doctors, when you ask them in one of the research I did, why do you go abroad? They say that I'm not able to diagnose a disease because I don't have diagnostic tool. So there is a hospital there with diagnostic tool. It can retain the brain in the continent. Secondly, they say that I don't have drugs to treat. I don't have drugs to treat the patient. Even if I diagnose it with a normal, simple thing. There are a lot of conditions in that hospital. Is an hospital like hospitals in Turkey. So this is not going to be, doctors will not have the excuse to say that I don't have hospital like this if we have projects in Africa. That's why I migrate. They will not say that I don't have capacity to diagnose because we have it there if we have projects such that, like that in Africa, I want to say. And also, I don't know whether, I hope I answer your question in this topic. Also, Sadat Al-Mahdi, brother, thank you very much for your question. You asked about the other countries that defeated the brain drain or that we can take example to defeat the brain drain in health professionals in Africa. When you're talking about a brain drain in health professional in Africa, I talked about one of the, negative perspective of brain drain. Of course, brain drain also have got this positive perspective, because when you're talking about a positive perspective of it is brain rescue. There are a lot of people in Africa. They don't find a job. They graduated. I have a lot of friends also graduated from university, from medical school, and they don't find a job. When they go back to Africa, though maybe some others studying from a high standard universities in the world, when they go back to Africa, they go on, they have to do an internship of 2 years for tropical disease and other things. And in some countries, they are not paid. So this makes them go out and they get a lot of money. They send their family. This is also an economical source. It's also important perspective, good perspective. But when we don't have health services, we could have taken a very great lesson from this coronavirus pandemic. We don't have health professionals, but coronavirus is not beating Africa. I don't know why. God is protecting us, but our governments are not still learning about the lack of health professionals in Africa. So even if you send the professionals because you don't have salaries to give them, you don't have good diagnostic tool to give them, why don't you create policies? And in Africa, I don't see many countries. Most of the countries that are trying to do this, they're trying to retain the brain in the continent. What they do the compulsory service. For example, when you graduate from university, you do 2 or 3 years of compulsory service. You can't go out. And after finishing, if you are not given a good conditions, in sub-Saharan African countries, all countries are always in problem, political instability, and a lot of ethnical problem, ethnicism or meritocracy. This, how can I say, it hinders meritocracy. For example, people that will not be offered job according to the merit. You need to have a political view. For example, if you are together with this party, you will be given a job. So all these stories are still there in Africa. So it is very difficult to defeat the brain drain if we don't
Dr.
do
Francisco,
our project.
can you hear me? I think we are running out of time. Please try to
answer
conclude.
the
Yes.
question. If there is any question also, I'll be pleased to answer them. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, our dear presenters. So for today, we had 3 presenters. Assistant Professor Aydin Kudat from Ankara Yildirim-based, and we had Dr. Francisco Jose from Adnan Menderes University, and also we had Dr. Yusuf Abubakar from Ankara Hacı Bayram Veli University. So I would like to thank all our presenters and also participants from Turkey, from Ethiopia, and also from other countries who have participated here. We are going to finish our today's session in just 2 or 3 minutes, and we would like to see you again on tomorrow's session. For tomorrow, we are going to have the Turkish ambassador to Ethiopia, Ambassador Yaprak Alp, and we are going to also have as a guest speaker Mr. Nagayo Mamo at Embassy of Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia in Doha, and we will also have academicians from Wallaga University, from Marmara, and also from Istanbul University and Istanbul Commerce. And finally, we will have closing remark by the Vice Chair of Orda Research and Development Association, counseling psychologist, Dr. Aman Sado. So you are kindly invited for tomorrow's presentation as well. And we would like to thank all of you. And with this, I conclude. Thank you. And if I might have been unfair in time allocation, I would like to ask an apology from all the presenters. And thank you. And this is also Galatoma. Galatoma is a literal translation of thank you in our language. I think you can see from the screen. So Galatoma, all of you, and see you tomorrow.